I'm not wearing any pants. Hello YouTubers, thanks for watching yet another review, Critical Blind Side here. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Age of Ultron, and I'm going to try to kind of keep things shorter. I got not a lot, but from some people who watch my stuff, they say my videos are too long, which I sort of agree. However, when I get to rambling, it's hard to stop me. So we'll try to keep it a little shorter and try to focus on briefer reviews. So let's start by the negatives, because obviously I would start with negatives. Negative number one, I usually don't concern myself with comic book nerds and whether or not the universe is faithfully reconstructed in every single movie. However, there are some major things in the Avengers Age of Ultron movie that differ from the comic books, and it's not little things, these are big things. So first off, this entire review is spoilers. Sorry. So let's start to get into some of the things that, maybe comic book nerds or maybe other people who are familiar with the canon of the Marvel comic universe, they're going to have a few problems. So problem number one is Ant-Man created Ultron in the comic books, and he's nowhere to be seen in the Age of Ultron. It kind of makes sense that Tony Stark would create Ultron, especially the way that they did it. It was kind of clever, but Ant-Man is awesome. He's a really cool character, and they already have Paul Rudd or whatever his name is playing Ant-Man in a movie that already has a trailer. So they could have cut to him for a second or something. But it's minor. It's like I said, it's not a huge deal. Ultron was created. The point is that Ultron was created. Doesn't really matter by who in my book. Second, kind of probably the most major thing about the movie to me negatively was Ultron. So the first Avengers movie suffered from too little Tom Hiddleston. Loki is just an amazing villain. He's great. I love to watch him on film. I love anytime he's on the screen, he eats it up, and it's just great. And his dynamic with Thor is really, really nice. I like watching it. Ultron is no Loki. He's not even really that menacing, which that's the tone or the direction I would have gone with it, was this menacing character that you don't even know how you're going to begin to think about stopping this guy, nonetheless actually have a plan. But in the movie, he's kind of wisecracking and quibbing and sort of doing things that I wouldn't think a character like that would do. However, obviously I'm not super familiar with it, but it didn't seem like consistent with something Ultron would be doing. So that kind of took me out of the movie a little bit. My next kind of problem with this movie is that you can tell this is a movie that has been cut down. So without doing a whole lot of research, I think I overheard or I heard or read somewhere that the original length of this movie was going to be around the 3.5 hour mark, which you just can't do. I think it would be awesome, and I'm sure there's going to be a director's cut with all the stuff that we're missing, but you can't expect the numb brain, popcorn shoving in their face audience to watch a 3.5 hour movie. You can't do it. So it had to be cut. And what was cut, in my opinion, and I'm sure you just heard that, is Thor basically just leaves in the middle of the film. He just, see you guys, I got shit to do. And he goes and does his thing. And it shows a tiny little bit of what he's doing. But stuff happens without him, and then he just appears and creates vision. He's just like, I know what to do now, and just, you know what I mean? And to me, that was just it just reeked of scenes that were missing. And usually in a movie, I'm not taken out of it that much from stuff that I know has been cut down. However, because I understand the process. You can't film something. You can't have a 5-hour film, even though the director wants to. It has to be cut down. You have to market the stuff for real people. But this movie it doesn't just reek of being cut down. You can actually see not plot holes, but things that are not wrapped up as neat as they need to be because of the cutting down. And I think most of it had to do with Thor, which is unfortunate because I like Thor. I like the fantasy aspect of Thor, and I like him as a character, whatever it may be. He's totally badass, and he sort of just leaves for half the movie. So didn't really appreciate that. And then kind of the final major gripe about this movie is the love story between Banner and Natasha. Where did that come from? If anything, the more astute viewer will see that she wears an arrow necklace. And I know, and they insinuate that her and Hawkeye are close, or maybe there was something going on there, but really she should be in love with Hawkeye, or at the very least Cap. The romance between her and Banner just came out of nowhere. And yeah, I know in the original Avengers she goes to get him, and there's sort of like a little implied connection there, but it's nothing that we really see, or that, you know what I mean? So they force it down our throats so much. I actually had to go back to like Winter Soldier and the other movies that these people are in and think back, did they do anything with this? And sure enough, they didn't. And it felt like the entire first movie establishes their relationship, and then the second movie kind of drives it in. Well, no, that's not how it happens. So this stuff comes out of nowhere, and it's kind of like they just picked two people, and now you're in love. And the problem with it is that romance basically had very little to do on the actual plot or anything else. Yeah, she sort of gets him to change into the Hulk at the last moment and says, hey, I need the other guy. But here's the thing, is that we learn that basically anything can turn the Hulk, can turn Banner into the Hulk just by aggravating him. So that to me was just off. It just didn't feel right to me. So I guess we'll kind of transition into the good. The good. Elizabeth Olsen, excellent job. Yes, her accent was a little spotty. She kind of sounded like a high school valley girl trying to do a Russian accent. It kind of took me out of it, but her performance was great. Her arc was great. Her story was great. I believed every single thing that came out of her mouth. I believed she mourned whenever Quicksilver, her brother, dies. She did a great job portraying this. She did do a little bit too much of the superhero this thing. She overindulged in that a little bit, but I really liked her. And she has a really good scene with Hawkeye whenever they're fighting and everything. She says she can't do it, and Hawkeye basically says, get up and do it. And that was a really good part of the movie, which kind of transitions me into Nighthawk, or Hawkeye. I keep calling him Nighthawk. Hawkeye, who, again, just like Olsen, he is like almost at the forefront of this movie. Major spoiler here. Right in the middle of the movie, he takes the Avengers, because they're sort of in hiding after another thing that I'll talk about in a second. And they go to Hawkeye's family in the middle of nowhere. And you get to see the dynamic between him and his kids and his family. And it's like this thing that completely takes you off guard. I really enjoyed Hawkeye's arc. I really enjoyed Hawkeye kind of saying, like, yeah, I'm kind of responsible for these. I'm going to let Cap do his speeches and rally the troops, but ultimately I'm the one who kind of keeps things going. So whenever he puts the arrow into Scarlet Witch's head, like in the first part of the first act, after she just, mind manipulated everybody else but him, he's like, nope, I've been there, like, whatever. So Hawkeye did a really good job, and I really cared about him, because in the first movie, he's basically a zombie, and you don't get to see him. And basically everybody said, him and him and Black Widow could be like completely, 86'd, and no one would even, be able to tell, because their characters are throwaway. And this more of the opposite in this movie. Also, another thing is I felt that the characters all have their own unique dialogue and their own unique characters. In the first movie, it's kind of the Tony Stark and the Hulk show, and everyone else just sort of meanders. But this movie has... the characters felt like they were written for individually, as opposed to being kind of just written for, on a whole. Each character feels unique. And one thing, and then the next point that I'm going to come to is the action, which I thought was wonderfully done. I don't know if this is just me getting old or what, but I sort of got like nauseating levels of act. I mean, it's just a lot of action, buildings crumbling, but it wasn't like the Transformers where I couldn't tell what was going on and I didn't care. It was well filmed action, well, CGI'd action, but to me, sometimes it was just a little too much. But whenever whenever you finally see the Hulkbuster after the Hulk starts going crazy, you see the Hulkbuster suit, and the entire time I'm thinking, God, that is such a Tony Stark thing to do. I can totally see Tony Stark sitting down and saying, we got the Hulk. He's crazy. I can't stop him. Thor can't. Like, no one can stop this guy. What are we going to do? Oh, I know. I'm going to build a huge, crazy big suit, call it the Hulkbuster, send a thing in the orbit, and I'm going to have multiple limbs whenever the Hulk, inevitably rips them off or crushes them. I can just replace the limbs and we'll be good to go. That's totally a Tony Stark thing. And the same thing with Cap, leading and doing his speeches and feeling like he's responsible, and Nighthawk sitting back in the back and saying, yeah, but I'm the one that's actually responsible. And, just everybody felt like they were written for themselves and not just to feed into a line to where Tony Stark can do a funny. So that was good. So kind of like in conclusion, I had a lot of bad to say and a lot of good to say. I want to see the director's cut of this movie again. So the next time I see this, it will be the director's cut, and I may revisit this. At the time being, I don't think it's as good as the first Avengers movie. I don't even think it's as good as Winter Soldier. It's a really good movie. I enjoyed myself, and it did a lot of good that the other movie didn't, but I just felt the first Avengers movie is basically the most perfect buddy team-up superhero movie. It's flawless. The second Age of Ultron suffered from a poor villain, too much quippy, funny, wisecracking dialogue from everybody, not just the characters it's appropriate for. It's too much action, but again, I can let that go because that's probably just me getting old. Stuff that you can tell was cut on the cutting room floor, and I want to see. But it had a lot of good to it as well. So, definitely see the movie. It's a fantastic movie. It's just, I'm more excited for Civil War now. I'm more excited for the other things. Usually, the Avengers is the thing that interests me most. But I'm thinking, Civil War might bring things to a head or something. So, obviously, I'm going to continue to watch, the Avengers movies. But I don't know if it could ever live up to the hype of this movie because it was hyped like crazy. But to me, it just felt like it stopped and stuttered, and then it got going again, and then it stopped and stuttered, and then you can tell things were cut, and to me, I just couldn't get into the movie. And I won't spoil the end for you. The end is pretty epic. And another kind of gripe is that Hawkeye should have died. It was cheap shot to do Quicksilver. Or if anything, you could even have done Thor dying, which Thor can't really die because he's a god, but he could have gone to some sort of underworld or hell and fought his way through the end of the movie, and maybe not even come back until the third Avengers movie, or maybe his third movie, and he's fighting this underworld hellish thing, and only Thor can. I thought that would be cool, you know what I mean? Like, because he's the whole fantasy thing, and of course you're going to bring him back, but no, they killed the easy one to kill, and it just felt kind of cheap. But and it's just little stuff like that adds up to the bigger stuff, and the good in this movie doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't take away from the glaring problems. So I'm really looking forward to see Civil War and the other movies with these superheroes in it. We'll see if I change my mind after seeing the director's cut, but I'm recommending the movie. I don't usually do ratings, but if I had to give it some sort of rating, it'd be like a B. Whereas the other Avengers movie, especially right after I saw it, I would give it like an A+. So maybe next time, but it's definitely a good movie, but I don't know, maybe wanted a little more from it. So sorry guys, I haven't been doing too many of these reviews. I'm building a custom computer that's like crazy, like in detail, and that's taken up a lot of my time. I'm also doing a lot of things in my personal life that's not conducive to me sitting around and doing this. So I plan on doing more reviews and more content, pushing it out, especially on bigger movies and stuff like this. But just bear with me. I got to find a better way, not a better way, but a more efficient use of my time, because right now it's a mess. But I'll do more. Let me know what you guys think of this review. Am I totally wrong? Did I get everything wrong? Do you agree with anything? Let me know in the comments down here. Well, I'm pointing to my no pants. And like it if you liked it, and dislike it if you disliked it. Let me know if you guys want me to see a certain movie and review it. Will do. And also coming up in probably the next major review I do is a critique on the 3 main protagonists in GTA 5. I have a lot to say about these 3 characters that I don't think anybody has ever said. They always go to the gameplay and Trevor. So I'm going to break down these characters, do 3 episodes for all 3 characters, and kind of show you why these characters aren't maybe as good as you think they are, but that's to come. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you later. It sort of borrowed, the original Assassin's Creed sort of borrowed from all sorts of games. Prince of Persia, whatever. I'm not a games expert, but this Assassin's Creed was not the first one. You're not going too fast. Shut up.